Hur är läget?
Det är bra. No, it's good. It's good. Just came home from America, playing 2 tournaments. I'm a bit jet lagged, but I'm alive.
Okay, so I'm here with Friberg. I'm going to do one of my reflections interviews with him. And the place I want to start on this interview is obviously going to be in Source because that's your background. So I have a way to ask you to get a perception of how you thought of yourself in Source. I want to actually make you give me a reference. And so say someone watching this interview only came from 1.6, or maybe they only even watched CSGO. Which CSGO player now was like Friberg was in Source? Like, which player is similar, you think?
I don't know really.
Like, what qualities would you
one.
be looking for, do you think?
I don't know. It's kind of tough to really say. Like I wasn't like a really top player in Source. We didn't have really good teams in Sweden. So I mean, maybe it's something like Allu in the former Finnish team, maybe.
So that sort
Like,
of
I don't
level
know.
in terms of the teams, yeah.
Yeah, like my team and I was never like a really top 3 team or top 3 player or something. But I mean, I was individually maybe good enough to compete, but I think the teams and the experience that we had in our teams wasn't good enough to compete on the highest level in Source. So I mean, whenever I played like mixes or gathers and stuff with top players, I didn't have any problems playing against them. But like whenever I played with a team, I've really felt that okay, I'm missing something. Like everyone is a lot better than I am, especially like in the first years that I played the CS Source. I really felt that. Yeah, I was a bit behind in the experience and how to play the game, kind of.
So when CSGO came out and you got this chance to play with Nip and play with players like Get Right and Forest, people who don't know Source will think to themselves, okay, all the players, people 1.6, they only cared about like the 1.6 players changing over. So if like Neo or Trace weren't as good, they thought to themselves like, oh, the game must just be different for 1.6 players. But actually, I've noticed from looking back into history, it's not like all the players who were ex-Source players who were really good in CSGO were like the absolute top in Source. Some were, okay, some of the VeryGames guys were, but some guys, like, I mean, some of these people in Dignitas now, some of them weren't necessarily the absolute best. They've actually come up in CSGO itself. So when you came into CSGO and you were immediately in the best team, that was like a big step up from where you'd been in Source. Give people like some context.
Yeah, I was like, whenever CS:GO came out and I had the opportunity to play the CS:GO beta, I was like telling myself that like, okay, I know that I might have the individual skill to be able to play CS:GO on a really high level, and that was during the time I was like working in Ireland. So I told myself, okay, well, do I want to give it a shot? Like really sit down and learn the game. Since it's a new game, I guess I have like a big advantage if I start playing now and I play lots of CS:GO, and I did. I played like whenever I got home from work, I just played like straight 7 hours till I went to bed, like mixes, scatters, individually, and everything like that, just to be able to play on a like the highest level. And I mean that's how I got to know like Get Right and Forest and those guys from 1.6. I mean, for me they were like these superstars. They've been playing for many years and being like the best players in the world, being in the best teams. So I mean, yeah, it was a big step for me from playing in Source and being like a mediocre player. No one really thought of me as one of the best players, but yeah, I think it was fun. I mean, just getting to know CS:GO and getting to know them.
Was it easy, since you hadn't actually been like an absolute top player, to like dedicate yourself to like, I'm gonna go, when you were on top with Nip in the beginning, to go super hard with loads of practice? Were you at all ever burned out from CS? Like, I know people who've played for a long time, maybe it comes in waves. Like before one tournament they do a lot of practice, but then afterwards they need a break. Were you someone where at the beginning of CSGO you could really go like 100%?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, in the beginning, I just played like tons. I know people count, the Steam hours past 2 weeks. I had like over 110, 115 for around like 6 months, I think, like all the time. I just played extremely much, and I think that was what actually made me to like. It got me where I am today, I think.
When you played in Source, Was your style at all the same? Like, were you an entry fragger in Source? Did you have good spray in Source?
Yeah, that was my role in Source as well. I played with, like, the last year I played with fifflaren in Source, and they brought me in because of my aim and my, like, how I played the game, and that's what kind of the role that they put me into. They wanted me to be like the guy going in first, like the kind of like mad fragger, just running in and killing as many as I can. And I mean, that's the same role as I had when I started playing CS:GO and I joined NIP. They wanted me to do the same thing.
In Source, one of the things that the people who only came from 1.6 now might not understand is, okay, CSGO looks like CS Source, but the spray is totally different. Like, the few times I'd played Source, it actually felt like the spray might even have been easier than 1.6. Like, it was more controllable. Is this accurate? What do you think? I mean, compared to the CSGO spray, it's really, really drastically different, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was in some way easy, but yet again, it didn't have a exact spray pattern in Source, so it was a bit random. Like, but you kind of used to it, and when you learned it, it was kind of easy. But yet again, I would say like the CS:GO spraying is a lot easier, since like it's a pattern. The more you practice the patterns, you'll just learn them, and then you can control the spray really well. So I think in general it's easier in Source maybe, but if you really practice it, Go is a lot easier. So I think 1.6 would have been as well, since it had a set spray pattern.
Okay, so that's an interesting topic to talk about then, because that's one of the things in CSGO that I saw a lot of the 1.6 players struggle with when they were trying to transition. Like, even if they'd practiced a bunch, it seemed like some of them just never got a hang of the spray. Even players who were amazing in 1.6 at that aspect of the game. Did you pick it up really early in the game? Did you like kind of intuitively understand how you were supposed to spray with the AK, with the Colt? Did you practice the specific patterns over and over in a way that other people didn't? Why do you think other people were either couldn't pick it up or were slower?
I mean, the spray patterns in 1.6 and Go is a lot different. So I think they just didn't put in enough time to practice it. Like what I did when the game was like kind of new, and they kind of mixed with the guns every time. Like every update was some like weapon update, some accuracy update. Every time there was a new update, I just went into a local server. I just sat down and sprayed till I saw that I could actually spray like in a really small like circle or something like that. So I knew I actually could spray like really well. And I don't think the players from 1.6 really had the, like, what do you say? They didn't put in the effort enough to go in and do that. I think that's why they probably didn't spray that well.
One of the first theories people came up with when NIP was winning everything was like a really simplistic one. It went like this, like, oh, what they did is, because they've got some Source players and they've got some 1.6 players, it's like they've got the best of both worlds, and like the Source players must have trained the 1.6 players, and like there's a degree to which there's probably like a grain of truth there. Like you could help the players pick up things that were more native to Source than CSGO, but obviously it doesn't work entirely, because there were other teams that tried mixes or tried different players, and they weren't dominating the whole world. Okay, so I want to spin it to you like this. If say the team that gets made at the beginning of CSGO, for some weird reason, you're actually going to make a similar team, like 1.6 players and CSGO players, but it's going to be like friberg, fifflaren, but then we're going to try like Neo and then someone else, some other great 1.6 player. If you'd have actually been able to work with them, do you think you could have actually developed these people more and got them into CSGO in a way that maybe took them longer? What do you think about that topic?
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think one of the strengths that we did have in NIP was that we were really individually good. In the first few months, we just kind of ran around and just like, killed people, kind of. So yeah, again, I mean, Neo and those guys, if I would say, for example, Neo Xizt was one of the best players in 1.6. Of course, he could be fitting like in a team like that, since he has the individual skill necessary. And then I think one thing that is really important is that everyone in a team must feel very confident, like comfortable as well, with the role that they're playing with. So we kind of like, when we formed our team, we sat down and said, okay, guys, how do you guys play the game? Do you want to like stay in the back, or do you want to rush in first, or do you want to be like the guy flashing for us, and do you want to be the strat-caller? The positions and stuff like that. And I think that's very important, because if you don't play in a role that you're very confident with, you shouldn't be playing like probably not be playing with that team. You should be playing in a role that you feel comfortable with playing. Like everyone can't be oppers, everyone can't be like entry-fraggers. We need to have like a really good team, and I think that's the strength that we had as a team. That we really felt that okay. I felt okay. I want to go in first, and Forrest said like, yeah, well, I also want to go like kind of first. So okay, me and Forrest, we kind of pushed pretty aggressively. Then we had Xizt following us. He was also pretty aggressive. Then we had a fifflaren who like maybe being a bit strategical, being a bit in the back, telling us to rotate, where to go, and stuff like that. So I think the main thing in our team especially was the positioning and how we executed everything, how we went, like the team play in general. And I think any player from 1.6 or Source could have done that, but I think that we were very good at it.
What actually drew you to that role then, doing the entry-fragging role? Because, I mean, it's not the kind of position that players with good aim, for example, usually like want to do. Mostly they'd want to be like a different player so they could get the kills, or maybe they want to be at the end of the round and win the 1v1 or something. Were you just naturally always this type of a player?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been very aggressive when it comes to like pushing in. I don't know. I want to be I love taking like challenges with people. If someone want to like with the aim duel with me, I'm happy to take it like almost any day. That's probably one thing that maybe I run in first. I get the aim duel with someone, like I should win it, and I'm also like I like to give information also to my teammates. Like if I feel that I have a day off, like I can't hit shit, then I'm just like basically running into a bomb site, saying okay, there's one on new boxes, one on coils, and then my teammates run in. They know where they are. They can kill them. Like I don't have any problem with like I don't care about the stats when I play. I just want like my team to win. I don't really care about how like I'm doing. Of course, I want to play good. I want to like help my team win. But the stats, for me, it's just bullshit. Like, you play as a team, you win as a team.
Okay, that's like a really interesting point to make there, because I've always thought the entry fragger, the reason why it's a bit of an underrated role is that's actually the easiest role in the game to have a really bad score. Like if you have the day where you're not hitting any shots and you're still going in first every time, you can end up like 0-12 or something, like that sort of a score, because you're getting attacked first. But the key thing is, I always used to say this if I played with players, like if you're going to be the entry fragger, you have to be the one player who's not afraid to die. Like sometimes, okay, you're not going to do anything, you're going to just get killed, but you have to get that information like you're describing here, or at least do something to contribute, and you might have to die to do that. Have you always understood this? Like, has this always been your approach, or did it come to you over time? Has anyone ever talked about it with you? Was it just naturally something you understood?
I think, yeah, both naturally. Like, I understood that if I run in, like, someone needs to go in first, right? I've been playing with teams where everyone's like, you've been rushing B, like, on an eco, and people are saying, like, no, I ran in first last time, so it's your turn to run in first. And then it's like, well, like, what the fuck, right? So I felt, okay, well, if no one wants to run in first, I'm gonna do it. So I start doing it, and I became pretty good at it. Then I joined up with fifflaren. This is back in Source. I joined up with him, and he told me, "Okay, we need someone to go in first. You want to go in first? Go in first. Try to get the frags. We need the information, right?" And yeah, it's always been like, of course, he taught me a bit like how to approach things, where to go, not to be overly aggressive. Try to be like a bit smart, aggressive, right? So yeah, yes, I think both naturally and fifflaren mainly, I think, since he was kind of my godfather back in Source when he was teaching me how to play.
So obviously there's a level to which you can know something, like you can know in your conscious mind, like this is how something should be done, but it's not always possible to do it that way, even if you know it. So for example, if I ever criticize someone's play who's a pro, obviously if I was in that 1v1, I'd probably lose it anyway, because I'm a much worse player, okay? But consciously, I could actually have the right idea. In this sort of a sense, even if you tell me now this sort of approach, it sounds like ideal, because here, even when you're having on the day where your aim's on, you're going to play the right way, but crucially when you're on a day where you're not hitting your shots and not doing so well, you're still going to contribute something. Do you always live up to that philosophy? Do you really stick by it? Are there times when you're not as confident that day and you're a bit hesitant and you don't go in immediately, and do you ever fall into that trap? Is it difficult?
I did some time in the beginning, yes, and I quickly noticed that if I had a day off and I didn't want to go in first, and like we were used to that, yeah, friberg is going first, and I didn't, I think we kind of like lost the games, or at least we lost a few rounds. And I mean, the more that happened, it made me realize that like if I have this set role, I know that because I don't care if I die as long as I do my part. Which I mean, in a bad day, it could be giving the information as long as my teammates gets the frags, and you know it makes it a bit easier if they know where the enemy's positioning is. So yeah, like always from the start. Or I learned, yeah, but I noticed I have to go in first and give the information, and yeah.
Is it different in? It's okay. Is it different in CS:GO to be an entry fragger though? Because one of the things that was identified quite early in CS:GO was that it had the peekers advantage. Now, for people, 1.6 is a really alien concept. Like, actually, if you're the entry fragger in 1.6, you have to have like balls of steel. Because odds are, actually, that guy who's watching that one angle with like a Colt, it's got a really much higher chance to kill you than you do to kill him, you know, because you have to like identify where he is, then aim onto him, then start shooting it. No, stop first, then start, you know, like the order of things you have to do is a lot more. In CSGO, is it easier to entry frag in that sense, that essentially you sort of like get a surprise advantage on the guy in a way?
Of course it is. I think they've kind of decreased the end. Like it's not that bad as it was in Source. They've improved it a lot, but it's still there in some ways, and it's mostly like you learn what angles to take. It's also like if you know there's a guy holding an angle, you should like probably not go there, because you know, okay, maybe it's left eye advantage or right eye advantage, and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just positioning. If you know where the enemy is, you know, okay, I'm not gonna challenge him in this angle, or you know, okay, here's for example, on Inferno, if he's standing coils, it's a pretty easy peek for the T if he knows like, okay, there should be one guy there. So you're preparing for a guy being up coils, just step forward and like kind of pre-fire or have the aim positioning, and you should be able to take the frag. And yeah, I imagine like a 1.6 you didn't have it, so I think it was a lot harder back then. But since I came from Source and we had the same thing, I'm used to it, and I mean, I think I'm pretty good at entry-fragging anyway, so, and I don't care if I would have died, so I think I would have done it back in 1.6 as well, maybe, but I don't know.
This might sound this might actually sound like a stupid question to you, but you have to realize, like, I have to put my mind in the frame of mind that the viewer might be in, okay? So I've noticed this is a problem, okay, which is that there's certain times, if you're an entry fragger, where there are actually tactics that can involve you being blinded by your own team as part of the tactic, so as you can get into a site that's like really hard to get into. Because I always used to tell people if they were playing in my team, like, okay, sometimes there's some sites that are almost impossible to fully take over with like perfect flashes where everyone looks away. So instead, we're going to do a round where you'll be blind, but don't worry, like the enemy will be blind too if he's in that spot. So it'll work, you know, you can still sort of take over the ground that you need to take over to take the site. Does this happen in CSGO? Does Nip have strategies where friberg has to be like blind when he goes in the site?
Of course. I mean, we have a lot of them like that. And I'm kind of used to it. Like we have strats where I'm like running into a site, looking down at the floor, just so I can be like half blind, and hopefully the enemies will be blind. It's happening a lot. It's a very good strategy, and I'm actually surprised people are not using it more, because I mean, as long as you're not afraid to die, it's a very good strategy, because if they're blind and you're just running up to them, it's an easy kill. It's like that on Inferno on the B bomb sites. Like, just throw flashes over the roof, and they should be blind. And if you have good flashes, it happens. Like every time they tell me I'm gonna flash, just run in. Okay.
Cool. One of the things of being an entry fragger, the reason why I think it's a little bit underrated, is I'll give you an analogy to another sport. I always think of a good entry fragger as a bit like a winger in football. So, okay, a winger's job is like, okay, make runs so that the ball moves further up the pitch, or make like a great cross that like delivers it into the striker. But the thing is, even in football, except for a few really, really famous wingers, a lot of them aren't even close to as famous as the striker. Like, even if he does an amazing run, passes the ball right into the striker, right at his foot, as long as the striker kicks it in the goal, everyone says, like, that was a great goal by the striker. Like, and everyone forgets about what the winger guy did. And so in CS, it's a bit like this, okay, because a really good entry fragger, sometimes he won't even get any kill because he'll be killed. But let's say friberg runs into the site now, and the two enemies start aiming at friberg, and they spray and they kill him. That might be like the 2 seconds that lets Forrest come in and then just like one tap both on the head. And so it looks like, wow, Forrest is incredible. But how did he get the chance to be free to just do these shots, without being attacked himself? Do you have a sense that like, does your career make Forrest's career better in this sense? Exist if he comes in the site? Do you have that sense that like you're helping build these guys up?
I mean, I think the logic that you said sounds great, and yeah, I think that whoever runs in first, because it's not always me who runs in first. Maybe it's Forrest or Xizt as well, but like we barely see like Get Right running first. And he's kind of the lurker for our team, and like as you said, it makes it easier for whoever runs in the second because they know the positioning of the enemy. Maybe they're focusing me, and they get the frags, and they look good. But I mean, if they want to, like, I don't know, people that watches the game, they think, okay, wow, he got 3 frags and stuff like that, but maybe they need to look at a bigger perspective, like how the whole round played up, who did what, and I mean, yeah, I think you're right in what you're saying. I don't know, yeah.
Okay. Everyone always lists you as like the entry fragger. You're like the most famous at this role in CSGO. Who are the other names that people should be thinking of when they think of that? Like if we had a dictionary definition, it says the entry fragger, CSGO. We have like a picture of friberg, and then who else would be there? Like which are the other big names who are really good at that role, do you think?
I think Angel from Hellraiser is really good entry fragger as well. I think, who else can I mention? JW for Fnatic, he's very aggressive in his opping. Like he's more. I think he is a very good player, but he's kind of more like running all the time. Maybe he's not doing smart moves, but like he's very aggressive and he's successful. He gets like a big high rate and getting the enter frag and stuff like that. So he's mentioned as well, and. I mean, there's a few players in every team. I can't really mention, like Bialy maybe for Virtus Pro. He's been really good lately since he's been picked up in Dota that as well. So there's a few players that really understand how to enter frag and how to do it. It's not easy. So even though people think it's easy to just run in, just all you have to do is run in, shoot them, and like call. It's like yet again you need to do it with your team. You can't just run around. If my team is on A, I can't just run in B and like, yeah, guys, I got an entry, because it really won't matter then, right? So you have to do it with your team. You have to do it smart. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of players in Europe who's actually getting better and better in the entry-fragging.
Your team is famous in terms of your approach on terrorist sides for being a bit looser in terms of the tactics. Like it's not just like one mastermind who tells every single piece like a pawn on a chessboard, like where to go and what to do. So as a result, it sounds like not only are the tactics a bit looser, but other players also get a say maybe in what happens in a round or mid-round. How much of the game actually do you get to have a say over? Like on certain rounds, do you get to kind of have input as to like, let's not do that tactic because I tried that entry last time and it didn't work, or they've got a setup that's too good there? Do you get input like that?
Yeah, of course. That's a very important aspect in a team. You can't just have one guy calling every shot, even though it's like you've been trying things and you've been like failing at it. What you need to do is that if you play like a standard round where you just spread out around the map, give information to the in-game leader, as we do that a lot. We spread around the map. We try to get as much information as possible. For example, on Dust 2, we have one guy listening. Okay, yeah, they're nading long, so there's at least 2 guys long right now. If we push up short, there shouldn't be more than 1 guy there, right? And like spotting mid with op, like 2 guys cross to B. It's only 2 towards B. We can do a B split now since it's only 2 there, and stuff like that. Like the information that you give to your in-game leader makes his job a lot easier, and you're mostly getting the correct calls as well, because since you're giving the information to the in-game leader. And I think that's the reason why people think that we have a pretty loose like system whenever we play. We're mostly playing on the enemy's positioning and where they are the weakest at. Because you don't want to run into a site where there's 3 guys holding the same angle, right? You want to go kind of where you can attack from both like 2 ways, and there shouldn't be too many of them there. So yeah, giving information to the in-game leader is a huge part in our play.
What was the difference between the times when fifflaren was the in-game leader and the times when it was Xizt? Like, is there something about their styles that are different? Were they trying to do a similar thing?
Yeah, it was a bit similar. The thing when we had fifflaren, we had a more kind of strict play where we couldn't actually get as much information as we do now with Xizt. It was more like, in T-spawn when we're buying, we were like, okay guys, do a standard, then we're gonna do like a split. They already called the strat like in the beginning of the round. And even though it was like maybe 3 or 4 guys on A, we still like kind of did it without having that much information, because we played pretty passively. Like, everyone needs to survive, everyone needs to throw the flashes, the nades, then we push in like we do a real like setup to do a split or something, So I think that's what changed a lot when we changed back to Xizt again. Just being more like getting information on where the opponents are, trying to take map control as much as we can, so we can kind of figure out where they're holding, how they're holding, and stuff like that. And yeah, I think map control is a big point in it.
I saw in an interview from way back at the beginning of CSGO with fifflaren, where he said that you and him used to argue sometimes in the game. Now, I still surprise people because they'll think you're the two that came from Source, you're the two like must be friends, you live together, you two should get along the best of everyone, right? Was it just you two who argued? What kind of things would you argue about? Are you an argumentative person in general? Do you get on people's nerves at all?
No, not really. I think back then he was trying to, like, I was used to playing this kind of, just run around and kill people, try not to be smart, just go and kill people, since I was pretty good on aiming back then, or maybe now as well, I don't know. And he was telling me, no, you should not do this, blah blah blah. He was trying to get like a hold of me, trying to make me understand that I have to play with my team. I can't just run around like a maniac. And for me, it made me look like I couldn't get as many frags, I couldn't do stuff like that. He made me kind of realize how to play in a team. And I was younger back then, it was in Source, and I mean, yeah, he was kind of like my second dad. He was teaching me how to play the game. So it was like, it's not big argues really. I'm not the guy who's kind of arguing with my teammates. I'm kind of listening, like, okay, if someone tells me to do this, I'm doing it. So like, yeah.
Okay. When you are playing the game on CT side, I've noticed in CT scenarios, so obviously there's no entry-fragging component like you have on the T side where you're often going in first. If you're in the other site, you get a chance to do the retakes, okay? You get a chance to play 1v1 or 2v2 or whatever, and you actually seem pretty good in this role. So if hypothetically I could take you and put you into another team, and in this team we've already got a really good entry-fragger, so we don't need that instead. Instead, you can be like the lurker, or you can be like the third guy into the site. Could you embrace this role and be as good? Are you someone who has to be the entry fragger, do you think?
I mean, you can adapt to any role. You just have to practice it, I think. I don't think I have the cool enough to be like the lurker who needs, like, you can see 1 or 2 guys running by you, just waiting for the third to come as well. I'm the kind of guy who, if I see a frag, I'm getting the frag. So of course, with practice, I could potentially be that, and but yeah, I'm kind of more like the guy. If I see someone, I want to kill him, right? But yeah, I mean, the clutching and stuff like that is something that you learn as well. You need to be pretty cool when you're CT and trying to retake a site. You need to play with your team to do it as well, stuff like that. And I think that's a good part. Like when we are at our best in an IP, we're communicating really well. Like we have a lot of information all the time where the opponents are. So it makes everything a lot easier when you communicate as well as we do on a good day.
Okay, I have a strange question for you. Everyone remembers this period of time when VeryGames had lost like 7 series to you in a row. They hadn't won a map. They'd lost like gone 0 to 14. And during this period, like even if they would get it close, even if they would lose 14 to 16, they would still lose, you know. So it's like something was just holding them back, even though they could beat everyone else in the world. Obviously, both teams play different now. The game's moved on a lot since then. So it's not like you're revealing any secrets about NIP now. But if we had to go back in time, and okay, for some reason in this like sci-fi version that I'm giving you now, like the world is going to end if we can't make VeryGames beat NIP at least once. Okay, so we have to go back in time, and you have to actually work against yourselves here. You have to try and help this VeryGames team win just one series against NIP. Was there something about your old style of play, or something about their style of play that they were doing wrong, or they hadn't picked up on yet that they got later on? Could you think of something that they could do to change it, friberg?
Yeah, I think they played way too strict back then, especially when they had like 14, 15 rounds against us. They always kind of like said, okay, just make like the A finish now, or like, yeah, do the B split or something. They seemed to have like a really set strat. Like every time they were close in beating us, it felt like they were doing, like they just wanted to finish off the game. They just wanted to do a strat. Okay, we know the strat is working, and we kind of always knew that. We kind of countered that all the time. We're playing aggressively, even though we were down maybe many rounds. We always were very confident in our play. So we said, okay, just VeryGames, you love to do their finishes with smoke and flashes. Just push at them. Like, don't let them do the finish, or take them while they're flashing and smoking. And I think we won a lot of rounds and series against them by doing that. Yeah, just playing aggressively against them back then was really, really good, because they always stood like with smoke and flashes getting ready to do a finish. Or if you just saw smokes coming, instead of just sitting there just waiting for them, just run at them, and usually took them off guard.
One thing that is maybe fans sometimes get too caught up in is, say you have a streak like that where you're winning every time. Okay, to the fan, it's like, well, they've always beaten VeryGames, so obviously they'll beat them this time, you know. That to a pro, I know pros tend to think like in the moment, like they're thinking about this round now and the next round. So as a result, if you're in a game and you're losing, you're not thinking like, well, we won the last 13, so I'm sure we'll win this one. It's like, well, no, we're about to lose this game. Like, were there any of those games early on with VeryGames where they actually had you in a position where you're like, shit, we're probably going to lose this game? Like, how are we going to come back from this one? Did they ever really have you in trouble in the early days?
Of course they did. I think they had a lot of games against us where they actually had 14 rounds, and you know, we just kind of told each other, like, if they can do it, we can do it as well, and we can do it maybe better than them, because we believed that we were a better team. So, I mean, we never gave up. We always tried to play our game. We didn't think too much about like maybe how they're playing or what they're gonna do. We just told ourselves like, okay, let's play our game. And I mean, we are very confident in our game, and if we're gonna play, like, the time that we start listening to them was the time where we actually tried to play their game. Like, we tried to counter their game. So I mean, back then it was like we just played our game. We just knew that everything worked. I remember a lot of games back then against VeryGames was on Nuke, and we knew that our CT side was like one of the best in the world. Like, we were really, really confident in playing Nuke against them, and we played them a lot of times. So maybe even though they had like a few games where we only had like 1 or 2 T rounds, we said, okay, well, you know, we can do it as well. So I think it was a lot about confidence back then. Like, and they had like this mental block or something against us, like they can't beat NIP, we can't beat NIP.
When you mentioned there, talking about like okay, Nuke's your best map, this is something I want to ask you about. One of the weirdest things in CSGO for me is that NIP is the only team in the world who plays every map and has a really good win rate on every map. Every other team, even the best in the world, they all have usually one map that they just never play no matter what. They automatically ban that every time. Is there something special about NIP here? If these other teams really just got out of that mindset and just played every map, like if Titan played every map, if Hellraisers played every map, could every team have, like if they were a top team obviously, have like a good win rate on every map, do you think?
Of course. I mean, as long as you're practicing every map. I think what a lot of other teams don't have is maybe the time to play all maps. They have to get all the strats on these maybe 3 or 4 maps. They don't want to have the like they don't have the time to fix the fifth map. And I mean, we've been full-time paid all the time, and we've always had time to fix the maps that we've had problems with. And it could be like, okay, let's say back in like 2013 in the spring, we had like events every weekend. Like the first time we lost against Virtus Pro in Kiev, yeah, like we have been to events like 2 weeks back, like before that, so we had like no things to like really like change in the way we played. So we just kind of felt like always gone to like, okay, if a map isn't working, just okay, maybe next event, if we don't have time to fix it, just we don't play that map till we fixed it. But we've always been playing very much. We always played all maps because we think it's important that you can play all maps, and trying to put down as much time as we can on these maps. So any team could play any map. It's just if they want to and if they have the time enough to do it.
When we set the scene earlier in the interview about like where you came from in Source, and like you weren't a top player, you weren't playing in the top teams. Okay, so then when you're facing VeryGames and you're facing someone like Xizt, and him and some of their players in his team have been at the absolute top in Source. They were like winning everything at the end of Source. Is there something about his style of leadership that wasn't as effective? Like in Source, was that super strict style the right style to have if you wanted to be the best team? Was it just not as good in CS:GO? What do you think?
I think they've always been pretty strict in how they play, but yet again, they've always been very individually talented in performing their like tactics and stuff like that. So in Source, I think they were kind of more like a bit looser, maybe. In the beginning of Go, they were very strict. They wanted to do the tactics correctly, the throw the flashes, the smokes. But in CS:GO, then when like they played a team who had a lot of good individual players, they kind of like, okay, we can't just rely on our tactics, and yet again, we just can't rely on our individual skill. And I think that they tried a lot to fix that, trying to like, how can we beat a team that's like very good individually? Okay, they tried to just do tactics and stuff like that, but it didn't work. And I think that's one thing that really, I think, took them by surprise, that they couldn't just do strats like they did in Source and just run over people. It wasn't that easy in CS:GO when they played against like us and some other good teams.
One of the problems it felt like VeryGames always had was figuring out how to make Kenny S and Scream work when they had them in their team in the early days. Because if you put these players on their own in like the second best team in France and they play NIP, yeah, obviously the team won't win, but they'll have games where maybe they get like 30 frags, you know, they'll have that crazy individual game. But when you put those two players in VeryGames, it felt like they almost never did that, you know. They were just, it's like they just became just good players. They weren't like the superstar who carry the whole game. Do you think they made some kind of mistake in how they used those players? Was there a better approach?
Yeah, I think it was a lot about like when they signed Scream, it felt like when I started playing with like fifflaren, it felt like he was like the extremely individual talented player, and he was put into a team that's very like tactical, and I think he had a hard time to really fitting into that role he was given. And I mean, that's coming back to what I said earlier, that it's very important to put together a team when you're confident and comfortable with your role in a team. And I don't think that Scream and Kenny S was at all. I think they were more like pick and play players, while VeryGames was this tactical team. So I think they had a hard time just getting into the team, how they played and the play style and stuff like that.
When the VeryGames team finally started to beat your team, and they got a mini streak of their own going, and then it went into Dreamhack Winter, and everyone can remember 2014. When they got that little streak going, did you actually think like they could remain like the number one in the world going forwards? Could they have had like a dominant period going forwards from that? Did you really think like, oh, okay, they can beat us now, but like we're still on top of them? How did you see the rivalry back then?
I think I always felt that we had something missing when we played them back then. I know that Xizt was one of the best players when we played during that time, he has played very, very good. Every time we played against him, he always got these clutch rounds and stuff like that. That we were used to winning. Like we were always used to winning these like 2v2s or 3v3s, and suddenly they started winning them against us. And I don't know. We didn't really feel that it was just our game that was like really, really bad. We have to change everything. It was just these like really close rounds that they managed to win that we didn't win against them. And I don't know. It was just a really down time in our play. We didn't really fix our game as much as we might have needed to. I don't know. But we never felt that VeryGames is gonna be like, oh, we're never gonna beat them again. It's over. They're becoming as good as they were in Source. They beat everybody. We always felt like we're gonna win against VeryGames. We're a better team. And finally, at Dreamhack Winter, it worked out, and since then it's history, I guess.
So when I did my interview in this series with fifflaren, he actually brought out like his psychic powers, and he told me like his theory that if Nip loses like in a big game to one team, you know, they won't lose the next time. Like they'll figure something out about that team and they'll win it. Okay, that sounded like a good theory, but then it made him look really good that actually happened, since you just lost to Na'Vi and then you beat Na'Vi now and all these times in a row. It makes it look like, wow, fifflaren knew what he was talking about. So if we apply this theory, what do you think changed from the first time you played Virtus Pro when you lost in that EMS final? Because since then, okay, you lost it this last time, but before that you'd beat them a bunch of times in a row after that. What do you think you had to figure out about Virtus Pro?
Virtus Pro was one of those teams that we didn't practice before Katowice. Same thing that happened to Na'Vi in Starladder. Well, we don't really know how a team plays. It's kind of hard for us to like fit into their style of playing, and I mean, it's kind of hard to adapt, especially in a final in a tournament. If it starts like in a group stage or like in the first like the quarterfinal game, it's easier to adapt to a game. Like in a final though, it's a bit more nerves. It's harder to really fit into their team. While maybe you should just then you say like, just do our game, it's gonna work, blah blah blah. But like, I don't know. I think it's a lot about like the nerves, and that we didn't really fit to like how they played. And after we played them there in the Katowice finals, we kind of analyzed how they played, what their strength was, and how we need to play against them. And that's kind of what we do to every team that we feel like, okay, well, this team is getting good. We kind of analyze them. We see how are we supposed to play against them. And yeah.
Okay, so your final point?
No, it was it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, what else? Okay, what I was about to say is that it's really hard to play against Virtus Pro, like in Katowice with their home crowd. It was really tough to play against them. I don't think it really made us worse with the crowd cheering for them, nor did I think it's the same in Kiev with Na'Vi. I don't think it's harder to play against them. I think that they are a lot better with like the crowd and stuff like that. I think it gives you a lot of advantage. Same when we play in Dream Arena at Dreamhack. It's a lot easier to play whenever you have the like crowd support, and it's harder to play when you have the crowd like cheering for the other team, and they're like getting the momentum with the crowd and everything. It's really tough to play against.
Okay, so I mean, the theory in general, like I say, kind of holds up, because even if I think back, okay, when you played Fnatic in the final of Dreamhack Winter, that Fnatic team was actually really new. They'd only been around for something like a week and a half before that event, some very short period, 2 weeks or something, I think, when they'd had Pronax in their lineup. So you hadn't really had a chance to play them offline, so then you lost to them in the final. But since then, you'd beat them since then. And then likewise, we saw Virtus Pro now, and you were able to beat them, and then you Na'Vi. Okay. The only problem with this is, now when we look to the future, well, I mean, all the top teams that are out there now, friberg, you've played them all online, you must practice them all, so you guys must be hands down favourite for this next major. Like, this one's in the bag, right? You're going to win this one 100%, yeah?
Yeah, it's the third lucky charm, right? We've lost 2, the third one can just go our way. Now, I think like all the teams in Cologne now will be very good. We're having some vacation right now, and we're gonna have like a pretty long boot camp before the London event, and then before Cologne. So like we have time to prepare, and we know kind of how all the teams play. We know that there haven't been too many changes, especially with the in-game leaders, because that's pretty big part of how a team play. And I mean, yeah, I think if we play our game, I see us going in as favorites in Cologne.
When you were at Dreamhack Winter, did having the camera crew around, do you think that affected anything? Because that was something at the time people were speculating about. Like, would it be like add more pressure or make it so that if you lose, it's like worse because there's like a camera in your face and people asking you questions and stuff? Did it affect the environment at all? Do you think?
Yeah, I really think it did. Like, they were on to us for like a few months, and we didn't win a single event with them around us, and it was like this bug following us. It was annoying. Like, we're used to, like, after a game, we just used to going back to the hotel, just lying down, just chilling, preparing for the next game. You know, when we were filming, they said, okay, yeah, no, we need some material here. We need you guys to go out in town to eat some food at the restaurant, blah blah blah. It was like, it was not in our comfort zone every time that when they followed us. I think everything was a bit different when they were around us. We didn't feel like, it's fine, they're just filming, blah blah blah, because we had to do stuff as well. So yeah, I think it had a big impact actually on everything that we did.
Even though most pro teams and players do only think of the recent form, okay. So when the Cologne event comes around, people will really be thinking to themselves, like, how did they do at Gfinity, or how did they do at this ESEA, or how did they do it? So not like the form they'll really be thinking in their mind of like how good they are. But when you think of the historical context, does losing the last two major finals, does it add any pressure to you personally? Like if you play this other major now?
No, not really. Like, I just feel that I really want to win one. We've been so close, both finals, and I mean, I think it's our time. I don't feel any extra pressure. We know there's a lot of good teams. It was like back when we didn't lose a single game on events. That was more pressure than playing like now, because we know that, okay, we are beatable, right? Any team could potentially beat us if we're having a day off. But I'm just confident in our team. I know that we are playing very well when we're playing at our best, and we have the players and the experience enough to do it. So I'm confident that we will have a very, very good finish in Cologne.
One of the things about the ESEA event that actually people didn't seem to notice initially until I made a little piece about it was that it was the first event ever where NiP didn't place top 4. Like in the past, you always at least made the semis, even if for some reason you lost there. Was there anything significant about this? That this is the first event where some reason you didn't? Was there something you can attribute that to?
No, not really. I think we just didn't play enough, and we shouldn't have lost the game against Complexity. We played probably one of the worst games we've ever played. Everything was off. Like, no one really felt like I'm playing good. The communication that we're usually really good at was like really, really, really bad. Nothing worked at all. All the clutch rounds we lost, and we just messed up a lot that game. And I think we, for some reason, kept on thinking about that game whenever we played like Virtus Pro in the lower bracket later on. And I don't know. It just felt that it was like a strange event. Like, it didn't really feel like we were attending a LAN for some reason. It was just bad from us. And I think going into Iron Gaming afterwards, when we knew we were going to play Navi, we just felt like because we were analyzing a lot. We had a few days off in America after ESEA, and we were like thinking, talking to each other, like, how should we play? What did we do wrong? What do we need to do better? And we did, and we just played extremely well, I think, against Navi in the Iron Gaming finals. And I mean, that just proves how like we work as a team. We could sit down and talk, and afterwards we'll just be better than ever.
If we look at the Swedish scene, one of the things that's been weird in CSGO for me is in 1.6, there were always at least like 2 Swedish teams that could fight for the world title. You know, that could be like SK and Fnatic, or NiP and SK, you know, whichever combination it was at the time. And in CSGO, it's not like there's not a talent pool in Sweden. Like, we've seen all these teams, like LGB could be cool in their own way. Fnatic had a little streak where they were doing well. You had the players who were recently just in the SK lineup. So Lemon Dogs, like you had the mixture of players out there, but it felt like they never got like the right mixture together to be like a NiP or to be like a VeryGames level team. You know, Can you think of why this didn't happen? Like, I mean, you must be. I assume you must play like gathers with these guys or mixes or something. Why do you think the right mixture never got together to be like the real second team after NIP in Sweden?
I think the Swedish players are individually skilled enough to be like top players in top teams, but I think they're kind of missing some like core group of players which have like really good experience on LAN events. Like, I was kind of like a wild card, I think, when NIP brought me in, because I didn't have that much LAN experience. I didn't have like, all the experience, but yet again, we had this core of like four guys, like from Xizt, Get Right in Forest from 1.6. They've been to like extremely many events, and they had fifflaren, who's been playing for like since forever, and like it was easier because we knew how a team should be working as. And like LGB, for example, they've never been like this really top team back in 1.6 where they played, or in Source, the players there. Like, I felt they were missing the experience part and like how to be working as a team. But yet again, like individually, they were really good, and I think they could have been a lot better if they just kept on playing together and just got the experience together as well. Because you learn a lot by attending events and working as a team. And I think, just going to more and more events and just sticking together, I think, is the key part for a team success.
Okay, to close up, I have a hypothetical question for you here. So, in this hypothetical world, unfortunately, like friberg, NIP's going to go to a tournament, right? And they're going to go on the NIP bus. But friberg's late and he misses the stop, and so they don't pick him up, and they say, like, make your own way there. Like, well, you just meet us for tomorrow for the games. And unfortunately, this is really horrible. The NIP bus crashes and all the other players die. And so, listen, we all attend their funeral. It's really sad. Like, you have like a few weeks to mourn them, and like, goodbye, fifflaren, I loved you like a brother. Like, you get to get over it, okay? And so eventually you have your time, and then you pick up the pieces, and you want to be a pro player again. So you're going to play, and then I come along because I've been like earning all these millions of dollars writing about League of Legends or whatever, and I feel sorry for you because like I want you to have a good team again. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to create like an experimental team with you, and the idea is like, I don't like CS players who are too hesitant or like they overthink the game. I want a team that's just like the most aggressive, in-your-face team ever. And our approach to winning the game, okay, is there's not like just one entry fragger. We have like 5 entry fraggers. We just run in that site. We kill everyone instantly. They're all dead. On CT side, we just have people just cleaning up all 5 by themselves at every site. Like, we're just going to destroy people here. So we've got friberg. I've got him on my team. Who are the other 4 players of any team in the world that I need for the the most aggressive team ever? Who do you want on this team, friberg?
I'd say Shoxy as a starter. I'd say Device from Dignitas. I'd say Hiko probably, even though he's probably not the most aggressive player, but he's good. And I'd bring in Pasha as well.
Okay. This would satisfy like the aggression level we need here.
I think so. I would just storm every bomb site. That's 5. Just run at them.
Okay. Do you have any final words or someone you want to thank at the end of the interview?
Sure. I want to thank all the fans for supporting me and NIP, and thank you for the interview, and of course to the organization NIP and all our sponsors. Otherwise than that, nothing. Thank you.
Tack så mycket.
Tack.